Hello everyone, welcome to Tutorials by Decade. My name is Decade, and in this video we are going to expand our inventory system a little bit by adding actual currency. So before I begin, I do want to say if you've watched any of my other videos and you like what you've seen, or if you just want to learn how to make games, be sure to subscribe, as I have videos like this coming out all the time, and I don't want you to miss anything. So if you do that, it helps me out, and I do appreciate it. So please go ahead and do that. And with that out of the way, let's get to it. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to add a coin that we can pick up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our sprites, and then we'll go to our objects, and then coins, and then there's a coin here that we can use. If you haven't already done this, we need pixels per unit to 16, filter mode to point no filter, compression to none, hit apply. Then the sprite editor, we're going to come up here to slice and change that to grid by cell size and just do 16 by 16. We're going to hit slice and then we're going to hit apply. Once that's done, we are going to grab one of these coins and just drop it anywhere, it doesn't matter where. And as you can see, it's kind of behind the scene. So what we got to do is the sorting layer, we got to change that to items, and there you go, it pops right up. So there's two things that we need to add to this. First is a animator. So we'll go to animator. And then the next is a box collider, 2D. And then we're going to edit this a little bit so that way it is just as wide as the coin, but we're not going to mess with the height of it because the coin animates by jumping up and down within that block. So that should be good for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to animate. We're going to rename the coin just coin. And then we're going to create our animation. So this is actually fairly simple here. So what we're going to do is just go to our assets, animations. We're going to create a new folder and just name it coin. We're going to open up that folder, and then our file name, we're just going to name it coin1. And then we're going to drag each and every one of these into our animation, and we're going to do 5 frames a piece. That looks pretty good on as far as I'm concerned. You can play around with this if you want to make it look better, to make it go faster, make it go slower, whatever it is that you want to do. Just don't forget that last one you have to put on twice. And then we'll hit play. And I think that's a fairly good animation. So if we go up to our animator, you should just see the coin 1. And that's all we need to do as far as getting a coin animated. So now we need to actually work on some scripts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our scripts folder here. We're going to go to items. We're going to create a new folder and just name it coin. And inside coin, we're not going to do anything yet. Actually, we're going to back up to items. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click here, go to create, and we're going to do a mono behavior script. And we're going to name this base pick up item. And then we're going to let Unity do its thing because you know it's going to. There it goes. So because we're going to be picking up a lot of different items, players are going to be able to pick up coins and currency. They're going to be able to pick up, ammo for their weapons. They're going to be able to pick up other items and tools. We're just going to make a base item pickup. So we're going to open that up, and the first thing we're going to do is make a requirement. So it must require component type of collider 2D. That way it's always going to have, why did it do that there? There we go. So that way you're not going to be able to put this on anything that does not have a collider. We're going to get rid of all of that, and now we're going to do a few things in here. So what we're going to do is create a header, and we're just going to call it pickup rules. And then our tooltip here, maybe I should learn how to type. Our tooltip here is going to say the tag of the player, and then we're just going to serialize that field, and then we're going to do a private string pickup tag, and then we're going to default that already to player, so that way we won't have to keep typing that in. And then we're going to do another tooltip, and should it be destroyed on pickup. So some items you're not going to want to be able to destroy, you're just going to want to disable them. So like items that are in a certain spot that keep respawning at that exact same spot, you might not want to destroy. So that's why we're doing this here. So a private bool destroy on pickup, and we're going to equal that to true. Then what we're going to do, oh, one thing I forgot to put. You want public, and then we want abstract class up top here. And I will explain that here in just a moment, but for now, we want to put that in there. It is going, I'll explain it to you once we get to the end of this, as it is going to be at the end anyway when we get there. So with that being said, hold on, I'm pulling up my notes again because I accidentally closed them out. Maybe. There we go. So with that being said, let's move on. So now we need a header, feedback, and this is going to be optional. So the first thing we're going to need is a tooltip, the pickup sound effect. Then we're going to serialize that field. Then we're going to do a private audio clip, and we'll name it pickup SFX. Then we're going to need another tooltip here. Let me separate these so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. Tooltip. And this will just be the sound effects volume, so SFX volume. And then we're going to serialize that field. We're going to do, before serialize, we are going to do range. And then it automatically wanted to do it for me, so 0F and 1F. Now we will do private float SFX volume. We're going to default that to full volume, which is 1F. Then we're going to do another tooltip here, and this will be the visual effect of the pickup. We're not going to be doing any visual effects in this video, but we're getting it set up to do a visual effect. If you want to do this on your own, it's honestly not that difficult to do. I'm going to be covering visual effects in a much later video when we talk about polishing your game. But if you are comfortable enough to do it yourself, or if you want to learn on your own and like Google it or something, you can definitely do that. I'm just putting this in here now. It will not affect how this works if we do not put a visual effect in there. So, but anyway, we're going to do a private game object. Oh, no, not prick. Ignore that. Pick up VFX prefab. And I'll just put in here that this is optional. We haven't gone over prefabs yet. We're going to cover that here in this video. But a prefab is an object that's pre-made and ready to go. So yeah, we'll go over that here in just a bit. And then lastly, we just need a private bool picked up, and we're going to default that to false. So since we're going to be able to override a few things, we want to make this a protected virtual void reset. And in here, we're going to make sure that we have the variable collider, and that's going to equal get component collider 2D. And then we want to make sure that the collider is a trigger and that it is true. So we're automatically going to be picking up the collider. So that's why I don't have it anywhere up here in the variables. And even though we already set the collider to be a trigger, we are going to set it to true anyway, just so that way it's a safety safety precaution there. So now what we're going to do is private void on trigger enter 2D. So this is where most of the magic's going to happen. Again, I don't like to use collision. I like to use other. It just makes more sense in my mind. You can honestly use whatever you want. But we're going to do if picked up, meaning we've already picked it up. Then we're just going to return. We're also going to do if not other dot compare tag pickup tag. So in other words, if something collides with this that is not the player, then we're also going to return and not do anything. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a bool, and it's going to be called success, and it is going to equal apply pickup, and in parentheses we're going to do other. And you're going to get an error here. Ignore that because we have not built apply pickup yet. So just ignore that. Now what we're going to do down here is if not success. Why does my thing sometimes like to add two of those in there? But anyway, if not success, then we're just going to return. So in other words, if we didn't actually pick up the object, or if we can't pick up the object because our inventory is full or whatever the case may be, then we're just going to do return. Down here, ignore that one. There we go. We are going to change picked up to true. So this is assuming we've made it past these three checks. So picked up is true. Now, if we have any type of feedback, so the visual or audio feedback, this is where it's going to be played. So if pickup VFX prefab is not null, then we are going to instantiate. So instantiate means like essentially creating or dropping in a prefab here. So it's going to require three things. English, my God. It is going to require what we're dropping in. So pickup FVX prefab, where we're going to drop it, which will be where the coin gets destroyed. So transform.position. And then its rotation. So quaternion, my God, dot identity. And all that's going to do is if we have a visual effect, as soon as we pick up the coin, from the middle of that coin, that's when the effect is going to go into place. Again, I'm not doing it for this video, but it's there in case we add one later. Now we got to do the sound. So if pickup SVX is not null, then what we're going to do is audio source. So there's a default audio source in the game. We'll dive deeper into audio again later in this series, but for now, if you just want to get a sound to play, we want to do audio source dot play clip at point, and then the clip is going to be the pickup sound effects. The position is going to be transform dot position. And then lastly, we're going to add this variable SFX volume, which is how loud it's going to be. So we can always adjust the volume in the inspector instead of coming in here and having to change it. And then the last thing we need to do is clean up the object. So we're going to do if destroy on pickup. Then we are going to destroy the game object. So as soon as the player picks it up and it does everything it needs to do, then we destroy the game object. However, if we do not have it on destroy on pickup, then what we do is game object dot set active to false. So I already kind of went over why you would want to use why you'd want to deactivate the game object as opposed to destroying it. So destroying something is going to completely destroy it. It'll never come back in that same spot again unless something happens to make it. So in other words, if we are if we are having enemies drop something, we want to destroy it because chances are you're not going to kill another enemy in the exact same spot. And even if you do, it would be a pain to have to constantly reactivate something and then move it to that position. So instead, we just destroy the game object, and then we can set it up whenever we get into like loot tables and drops and all that stuff later, that the item will drop where the enemy dies. The only reason why you'd want to deactivate it is if it's an item that returns to the same spot every single time. Like, let's just say there's a health potion that spawns on a table, and it spawns after X amount of time. Well, it's always going to spawn at that same spot, so we just deactivate it, and then when we need to activate it, we have a separate script that does that. So that is what all of that is. Now here's where the abstract is. So I think we've done summaries before, but if not, I'm going to do a summary right here. Summaries are just essentially notes, but I'll show you what they actually do because I don't think I've ever done that yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to implement what happens when the player picks this up. Return true if pickup succeeded. Return false if pickup should not be consumed, meaning that the inventory is full or whatever. So all we need to do now is a protected abstract bool apply pickup, and then collider 2D, and then collector. So first, that should have got rid of the error up here, which it did. So what is an abstract? So an abstract is essentially just a building block. This script can't be used by itself. It's a template essentially. So up here where we do base pickup item, and then we're inheriting from mono behavior, which is a built-in Unity script. This class, so to speak, cannot be used by itself. It's more of a building block. So because we are going to be making a bunch of different items and they're all going to be based off of this base pickup item, we're just going to make it an abstract, and then we're going to end it with this. So whatever goes on in here, and you'll see whenever we do the coin, that is what each item is going to do. And if you hover over apply pickup, you can see everything that we typed in the summary is now showing up there. So that's what a summary essentially does. So once we have the base pickup down, let Unity do its thing here. We can go into the coin here, right click, create mono behavior script, and now we can do coin pickup. And again, let Unity do its thing. Now if we double click on coin pickup, we can come in here, get rid of all that. We can go to coin pickup and change it from mono behavior to base pick up. Oh my God, work fingers item. There we go. So now we just need to do a couple things in here. So we're going to do a header and just do coin. Then we're going to do a tooltip and the amount of coins to pick up. So if you ever do like different coins, like I just have a basic yellow coin, but if you pull up any type of image editor, you can change the color of coins and make them have different values or whatever. So that's why we're doing this. But serialize this field, and then we'll do a private int amount, and we'll default that to 1. And that's all we need for variables because it's going to pull the rest of them from the base pickup item. So now what we need to do is a protected override bool apply pickup, and then it automatically filled in all that crap, and we can just get rid of that. So now what we're going to do is if our inventory system dot instance is null, meaning there is no inventory system, then we are going to debug dot log error, and then we're going to do coin pickup item, or not, just coin pickup. Coin pickup inventory dot instance is null. And then we're going to return false. And then after that, we're going to do inventory system dot instance dot add currency, and then in the brackets there, amount, or parentheses, I mean amount, and then we return true. So now that we have that done, we can go back into Unity, let Unity do its thing. And then we can click on the coin. We can drag the coin pickup to the inspector and drop that in there. And then we don't need to really do anything, but if you want to add a sound effect, which I have a sound effect actually, I have to dig it up, so give me 1 second. Where, oh, where did it go? There it is. I think. Why do I have to? Let me just double check. There we go. Okay. So we're just going to drag that into audio for right now. Boom. So I do have a pickup. I don't have that in any of my files because I literally just got it while I was making this, or before I started making this video. So if you want to get any type of sound effects, there's a ton of places on the internet you can pick up sound effects and stuff. I am not a sponsor of this place, just throwing that out there. But where I got some of my sound effects was freesound.org, and then I just searched item pickup, and then this is the one that I picked up. It's item pickup v2.wave. You can test these sounds by just hitting the play button, and there you go. Like there's that, and this one has different ones, so you'd have to go in and manually like separate them. But nonetheless, you know, pick up whatever sound effects you want from here and from other places. But yeah, so that's where I got this sound effect. So under coin, we don't have a visual effect, but we do have a sound effect, so we're just going to drop that into there. We'll keep that and everything else the same. And for now, we'll hit play. There's the coin. There's the sound effect. And if we go to our inventory, we now have one currency. Let me check my time on this recording here. Oh, I got time. We can work on the UI. So that's what we're going to do. So in order to work on the UI, first we have to get to our UI. And I just realized that I have canvas and a UI. So we're just going to drag the dialog box bubble down to UI, and then we're just going to get rid of canvas here. And make sure my UI is set up the same, 1920. Yep. All right. So that should all be good. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do with our UI is we are going to right-click, and we are going to create a UI image. And we'll name this one coin. And where do I have this in my test? There we go. So in my test, it's at x715, and then y is 460, and that should be right there. Perfect. So in order to get the coin image, we just go back to our sprites, our objects, our coins, and then we can just grab the first one here and just drop that in source image. And you see that change. So if we go to game overlay, that's up there. But what we need to do is right click on that coin, go to UI, and go to text mesh pro. And we'll name this one coin text. All right. So you see it's kind of hovering over there. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to change position X to 140. Everything else should stay the same. Down here, we want it to align to the left. We'll change new text to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. Font size will auto size, and we'll do minimum between 18 and 72, which should give us a decent looking text. There we go. And as far as in Unity, that's all we need to do right now. But we do need to do some scripting. So what we're going to do is in our scripts folder, we'll go to our UI. We'll right click in there, we'll create folder, and we'll do coin UI. And in that coin UI, we are going to do a mono behavior script, and we're going to name that currency UI. And then in that currency UI, once Unity does its thing, there we go, we're going to open that up. And then we are going to do a few things in here. So first we're going to do a tooltip, and we're going to do the coin text. And that's going to be serialized. And we're going to do a private TMP text coin text. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but I forgot to add the TMP Pro. So as soon as I put the TMP text in here, it automatically added that. So now we're going to do a tooltip, and we're going to do the string for the text. And then we're going to serialize that field, and we're going to do a private string prefix, and then we're going to do equals, and then we're going to do X, and then space, and then we're going to end it there. And then we're going to need a private bool subscribed, and then we're going to default that to false. So what we need to do, these scripts fire off in a certain order, and sometimes the order doesn't do things the right way. So we're going to go over that here in just a second. So first, let's start with private void awake. And in here, we're just going to do a quick little check to see if coin text is there. If it is not, then we're just going to do debug.log error. And then we're going to do currency UI coin text not assigned. And that's all we're going to do there. So like I was mentioning earlier, these scripts will fire off in a certain order. Now you can go in and change the order of the scripts of how they fire in Unity and everything else. But from my experience, sometimes that could be a giant pain in the butt, and it can cause more headaches than it helps. So what we're going to do is, instead of just on enable, just straight up subscribing to something, we're going to do a coroutine first. So we're going to do a start coroutine, init when ready, so initiate when ready, and that's all we're going to do. So this is going to give you an error, and that's fine. We're going to do something that's going to give us another error here in just a second, but we're going to do a private void on disable, and in here we're just going to do unsubscribe. So what we're going to do is we're going to subscribe and then unsubscribe to a signal, a listener. But instead of just flat out doing that, what we're going to do is a few extra things. But before we do that, we need one more private void handle currency changed int new amount. So this is where we're actually going to display our changes. So what we're going to do is if coin text not equals null, then we're going to do coin text dot text equals prefix plus new amount. But because new amount is an integer, we want it to be a string, so we're going to put new amount dot to string, which will automatically change it to a string. So once that's done, we are now going to make that coroutine that we were doing up there, and I'll show you what I mean by making sure that these fire the right way and then they still work. So what we're going to do is a private I enumerator init when ready. And it's still going to give you an error down here because we didn't do anything with this yet, but it got rid of that error up there. So we're going to do a while loop. I believe we've gone over a while loop before, but if not, a while loop is essentially like an if statement that keeps going until whatever is in the parentheses becomes false. So while inventory system dot instance is null, meaning it hasn't found it yet, then we're just going to keep yield returning null. So we're not going to do anything until this becomes false. So once this finds the inventory system, then what we're going to do is we are going to subscribe if that auto changes on you, you want to make it so it actually says subscribe, because we're going to create that here in a little bit. And then we're going to immediately handle currency changed inventory system dot instance dot currency. That way our currency changes to whatever currency we had whenever this fires up. The reason why we're doing this is because if for whatever reason the currency UI script fires before the inventory UI script, it'll never subscribe. And if it never subscribes to the inventory script, then this will never work. So now that that's out of the way, we need to make our private void subscribe. And then if already subscribed, then we're just going to return. But if we are not subscribed, then we are going to do inventory system dot instance dot on currency changed plus equals handle currency changed. So now we are subscribed to our inventory system. So we're going to put subscribed equals true. And then lastly, we need to do a private void unsubscribe. And in here, what we're going to do is if we are not subscribed at all, so we've already unsubscribed, then we're just going to return. If our inventory system dot instance is null, then we're also just going to return because we're not going to be able to unsubscribe from anything. But if it passes those two checks, then what we're going to do is inventory system dot instance dot on currency changed minus equals handle currency changed. And then we're going to change subscribe to false. So this is how we are going to subscribe and unsubscribe to our inventory system. and we are going to delay subscribing to it until our inventory system is ready. Again, we can mess with how these scripts are fired, or when they fire, I should say, in Unity, but from personal experience, that could just cause more headaches than it's worth. So just a few lines of code that cost nothing in performance almost is worth doing so. So now that that's all done, we can pull Unity back up. On our coin UI, we want to drop that coin currency script. Where it says coin text, we just drop the coin text in. And now if everything is done correctly, when I hit play, these numbers should just turn into X. Boom, so there's our X0. Now as soon as we pick up this coin, that should change to 1. And there we go. And to end this video, what I'm going to show you is prefabs. So I'm not sure if we made a prefab folder yet. It does not look like we did. So under Assets, right-click, go to to Create, go to Folder, and we'll name it Prefabs. And then, I guess we did have a prefab folder, and I guess I did show you how to do prefabs. I just did not see that. Oh, we made a prefab of the player. All right. So in the prefab folder, we're going to create a new folder, and we're just going to put items, and then in items, a new folder. We'll just do coin, and then in this folder, we're going to drag our coin and drop it there. So now we have a prefab of the coin. That's going to come into handy later. But it's also going to come in handy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to close off that dialog box right now because we don't need it. It'll automatically come up when we need it. Coin will stay up, but now we can just drag and drop. Oh, if I go to scene and then zoom in on player, there we go. So now we can just drag and drop these coins anywhere. And that should be enough just to test. So now we hit play. And also notice over here when I pick up a coin, what happens? They disappear, they get destroyed. Go away, buddy. Now pick up that coin. We got 2. Pick up that coin. We got 3. Pick up that coin. Now we have 4. So that is how we create pickups for our coins and our currency. So obviously you don't have to use coins. You can use anything for currency. But nonetheless, that is how our currency system works. And in our next video, I believe we are going to do our loot for dropping from either the enemies or from objects. So we will work on that in the next video. But I am going to end this video here. With all that being said, if you liked this video and it was helpful, please give it the big old thumbs up. It doesn't cost anything. It helps me out. And it helps you guys out because it motivates me to keep making these videos. So please do that. And as I said earlier, and as I said in every video, please subscribe if you haven't already, as I have videos like this coming out all the time, and I do not want you to miss anything. I would feel bad if you did. Plus, it also does help me out, so I do appreciate that. And with all of that out of the way, as always, thank you. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next video.